In this video, I'm sharing with you how to put together this gorgeous DIY window using mostly Dollar Tree items. So make sure you stay tuned to see how I put that together. Hello and welcome to Krafts by Katelyn. I'm super excited that you are joining me today. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and it really helps me out if you give me a big thumbs up. I think today's project turned out so beautiful. I'm so proud of it. I knew I wanted to make a window, and I've made like a window before on my channel using the 8x10 canvases, and I ripped off the canvas part to leave the wooden frames, and I like attached all of them together, and it turned out really pretty. And you definitely could make something like that for Christmas. I'll link that video down below, as well as share a picture of it, but I think it turned out so pretty, and I thought that I might try to remake that again, like a Christmas version of that. But then I thought it would be really cool to have actual glass. I'm using some of the Dollar Tree 11x14 picture frames. They're just not super sturdy, so I wanted to find a way to put these together that they wouldn't look really cheap and they would look really high quality. So I ended up going to Walmart and picking up wooden stakes. I saw that Bargain Bethany had used some wooden stakes on a project earlier this year, so it's just something that I went to look for. I couldn't find the long ones, so I just kind of had to improvise and piece together the shorter ones, but it still turned out so beautiful. So if your Dollar Tree has wooden rulers, you might try to use that. You could try to get like cheap yardsticks, but I think the best option would have been to have went to Home Depot or Lowe's and actually got like the nice 1-inch trim that you use for like the farmhouse signs and stuff. I just was trying to be creative and make this with Dollar Tree items. It didn't work out, so I did go to Walmart just because I live in a small town and Walmart was the most convenient for me too, so I just ended up getting my wood there. So just wanted to leave that out there as a little disclaimer. I know I'm going to get a couple comments that I didn't use 100% Dollar Tree items, but I love using like 80 or 90% of Dollar Tree items and then actually using things to make it look higher quality and be actual pieces that I want to hang in my home. So wait till you see this finished project. I think that you will understand why I wanted to use real wood to frame it out. I think it turned out beautiful, and like I say, it's definitely one of my favorite projects. So make sure you stay tuned and see how I put that together. So I knew to make this project, or to make a window with glass, I would need to use the large photo frames. I picked up 2 of these 11x14s, and these are not the best quality picture frames, so I was super careful with them. I also ended up using 5 of these little wooden stakes. I actually picked these up from Walmart, and they had these like with the garage sale signs or for sale signs. And I originally looked for the longer ones but couldn't find them, so I did have to try to piece these together. But like I say in the intro of this video, you could try to use rulers or yardsticks or go to Home Depot and get real wood. But I wanted to frame out these 2 photo frames so I would actually have real wood that I would be able to have like a wide looking realistic window frame and be able to paint that instead of just having these thin little photo frames that do not look realistic. You can see that the 2 ones on the edge didn't fit, so I am going to be using a couple pieces of the leftovers to try to piece in there, and then I will be using wood filler to fill all of that in. So the first thing that I'm going to do is unwrap these picture frames, and I'm going to be removing everything from the center, but I do end up leaving the glass in there, and I do hot glue all of that down. While gluing these down, I did try to make sure that I was putting the tiniest little bit of hot glue around the edges or as close inside the picture frame as I could, so it will not show through the back, but you can always peel it off if you do think that it is showing from the front. So the next thing I wanted to do was prepare these little yard stakes, and I ended up trying to scrape these off with a scraper, which worked the best, and it looks like it has a little bit of residue on it, but it is not sticky at all, so this worked really nicely. It has these little self-adhesive pieces that you are supposed to like stick a for sale sign on, so I'm just going to go ahead and remove that, but I do not want these sticking out, so obviously I'm going to go ahead and remove that. These photo frames actually have super thin frames around the edges and not a lot of surface area to glue them each together. So I ended up using a couple of these jumbo popsicle sticks just to give it a little bit more surface area to glue all of these together. But I just cut them down so I can glue these together and make sure that they do hold long enough until I can get my full front frame on there. So after I made sure that everything is nice and tight together, I'm going to lay out all of my yard stakes. And these do have the little holes in there, but I'm going to go through and use a little bit of wood filler on these. But I'm going to go ahead and try to mark where I want to cut off all of the little points, the little stakes that are meant to go into the ground. I don't recommend cutting all of your pieces at the beginning. If you can, I would kind of cut them as you go. I go ahead and cut like the top and the bottom down to size so I can kind of see what is left over and what I can use for the other pieces at the sides. But I go ahead and take these outside. I'm going to be using a jigsaw to trim these, but be super careful because these are tiny little pieces and they are kind of tricky to hold. You also could cut these with like a handsaw, but these are really thin, so they should work really nicely and be able to cut them easily using a handsaw. I'm not perfect at getting wood the exact same size, so that's why I'm just kind of doing the best I can, but I got the top and the bottom laid out, and then I lay out the sides, and then I went ahead and just measured and cut out a couple small pieces that would fill in. Now, I don't have real wood filler. My husband actually picked me up some, I think it was more like spackle that dried really hard, so I'm going to be using that, but I do recommend picking up some wood filler so you will be able to fill in all of these holes and cracks where it's not perfectly tight together. But I'm going to hot glue all of these down and try to get them as flush as possible. So you can see how it is coming together. This is exactly how I imagined it in my head, just to kind of frame out these glass pieces with a little bit wider of trim around them. And you can see that I didn't get those little pieces exactly, so I am using some of this spackling, which, like I say, I do recommend wood filler, but this worked really well. I just applied a lot into those little cracks to make it look more smooth. These are not perfect, and you are able to see it a little bit after I had got it painted because I do dry brush over that, so it does show through a little bit, but it still looks really good. And this is like a rustic looking window, and I did put this part, which has all the little cracks in it, at the top, that I'm going to be putting like a little swag or garland at the top, so you won't be able to see that. But this just worked perfect to fill in all of those little holes to give me more of a smooth finish. After all of my wood filler had completely dried, I'm going in with some of my gray Elephant Color Waverly chalk paint. This paint had actually kind of dried up a little bit, but I still want to use it, so I just kind of had to pull it out of the jar with my paintbrush. I did go in and sand down all of those little spackled places to make sure that they are as smooth as possible before I do apply my paint. So I let all of my gray elephant color paint dry really good, and then I'm going over it like dry brushing a little bit more of this white chalk paint. And like I say, it does kind of enhance the imperfections, so I did try to go over them a little bit thicker with the white paint to make it look like it blended in a little bit more. But other than that, I think that it looked really good. You also could go with like a warmer, do like the truffle brown color as the base coat and go over it with a little bit more of like a beige color if you wanted a warmer tone to this window. But I am really liking the gray and white. I think it looks really good and perfect, like with a farmhouse rustic Christmas. You want to make sure that you do get the edges really well, because this, whenever this is hanging up on the wall, you will be able to see the sides a little bit. So I just finished that up and let that dry, and then it'll be the fun time when we get to start decorating. These are the picks that I pick up at Dollar Tree. You can definitely use that, but I was wanting something a little bit larger just to make sure that the top was going to be really full and make sure that those little cracks on the edges would be hidden. So I'm using the 97-cent picks from Walmart, and I love these. They are just a neutral color. They have little light colored pine cones, and I just really like them. So I ended up using these. I removed the little labels and then end up just hot gluing the stems down. Of course, I needed a beautiful big bow at the top in the center of this, especially to cover that little bare spot where the stems meet. So I'm using some of this buffalo check ribbon. I picked this up at Dollar General, but Hobby Lobby also sells the black and white buffalo check ribbon. So I'm going to loop this around and just kind of create a large bow that I can put in the center. So I wanted to make this a double bow, so I do end up looping this around, and I do this 2 times and then tie them both together with some jute string. So I was loving how the bow was looking, but I felt like it needed something in the center. I had picked up a couple of these large white bells from Dollar Tree, and I thought these would work really nicely in the center. Actually, the photos that I had kind of got inspired by, they had all used these kind of similar same white bells, so I thought that would be really pretty to put into the center. I really like those inspirational pieces. So if you're ever hung up on something, you can look up like swag ideas or garland ideas and kind of see what everybody else is doing to fill in their pieces. But I ended up tying these 2 together, and I really like them. I think it made more of a large statement, adding both of them in the center, and then I think the white and black buffalo check ribbon behind it just makes it pop out even more. So I didn't have a lot of surface area to tie these bells to, and I want to make sure that they are staying up there really nice and tightly. So I ended up tying them around the bow so that I could glue more surface area of the fabric around there. So you'll see that I did try to just tack it in place at first, but then I go back through and add a ton of hot glue in all the places that it does touch. I knew I wanted to add some words or a sign or a quote to this window, and the wooden "Let It Snow" that they have in the plain natural wood that you can DIY from Dollar Tree was too large to stick here. So I'm going to be putting this little galvanized metal word, "Let It Snow." I took it off of a Dollar Tree sign. I thought it was the perfect size, and I love how it's metal and it goes along with the whole gray neutral theme that I'm kind of doing in this. So I did end up hot gluing this down. I do recommend adding a lot of hot glue, or maybe even trying some E6000, because it did want to peel up in a couple of the corners. On one of the inspirational pictures that I had, they had some hanging snowflakes, and I really like the look of that, so I wanted to try to attempt to do that in the bottom frame. I wanted to add this cute little jute string bow in the center, so it will kind of appear like these little ornament snowflakes are hanging down, even though I will be gluing them onto the glass.
I wanna give you a million things, 'cause isn't love what it's all about? And how to make you smile again is something that I wanna figure out. I wanna catch you like every time that you fall. I wanna give you the world that is outside you.
I wanted to add more snowflakes, so I picked up this 2-pack from Dollar Tree, but I didn't want all of them to be white, so I'm going to take them out and spray them with this hammered gray spray paint, and it kind of gives it more of like a metal galvanized, and I thought that would help tie it in with the Let It Snow at the top. I didn't want all of them to have bows at the top, so I tried to attach it just right under that frame to look like they are hanging the same way, but without the bow at the top, so it's not crowded on that middle piece. And then I just hot glue these down, but I did think that they looked really plain, so I did want to add a little bit embellishment on top of these snowflakes to dress them up a little bit more. I found some of these cute little mini picks that you're supposed to add to things, but you could just use one of the garland ties and add your own berries and pine cones. I was trying to decide what I wanted to do, whether I wanted to add these on the snowflakes, but I just thought that they looked kind of weird hanging off of the snowflakes, so I added them to the top middle, and I love that, and that little pop of red. I think that's going to go really nicely with all of my stuff. But to dress up the large snowflakes, I wanted something in the middle, so I used some of these smaller little white snowflakes, and I thought that helped bring in the white snowflake as well as the white bells. And then I wanted to add some little jingle bells from Dollar Tree in the center of that. I absolutely love how this is coming together. I think it looks beautiful. I love the top and all of the little decorations all over it. I think the word and the snowflakes coordinate, and then everything white and metal just kind of all go in together. I do think it would be really cool if you wanted to try to flip this over and add a little bit of fake snow, like use spray paint on the back of the glass. I think that would add a little bit of additional detail. But I think this turned out so beautiful. I love it. It fits with all of my style decor, and this is such a cool idea. You could customize this to fit all of your colors or make it say anything that you would like, but I just love it. I think it's definitely one of my favorite things that I've made on my channel. I think it is gorgeous and such a beautiful piece to be made with Dollar Tree items. Thank you all so much for joining me today. Let me know in the comments below what you think of my beautiful little DIY window, and if you have any other ideas for what everyone else could use for the frame. But I personally think it looks beautiful. I've already got it hanging up on the wall, but I think it turned out so good. I'm so excited to share it with you all, so I really hope that you enjoy it. If you did, please leave me a big thumbs up, and like I say in the comments, leave me some tips or things that you would have done different. What color would you have done your window frame? And then, like I say in the video, I do wish that I would have had some of that fake snow in a can and kind of sprayed the back of it, but I know that kind of falls off, so I'm not sure if you could use spray paint. I just did not want to ruin it. I loved how it turned out. So make sure you're subscribed, give me a big thumbs up, and I will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!